What is going on, guys? My name is Preston Stryker, and if you guys are new to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below and stay tuned for future videos. We are currently on episode 2 of the edit series where I'll be taking pictures I've either done with private shoots or at car meets and showing you guys exactly how I edit them in Lightroom. So let's get right into the video. Alright, we are open up in Lightroom, and as you guys could see by the thumbnail, we're going to be editing this beautiful AMG GT. So let's get right into it. Starting out, what I love to start with is just go over here to the edit section, and we're going to start with the lights. Alright, so only two things that we're going to do here is we're going to bump those shadows down. We're going to keep the exposure right where it's at. Right at 0. Right there. And then we're going to start with the highlights. And we're going to take the highlights and we're going to bump those down to around that 44 range. 44, 45, somewhere in between there. Just keep it right at 45 right there. And as you can tell, it doesn't do much. All it does is just takes the light and just dims it just a little bit. Alright, and then last thing we're going to do on the light is bump the shadows up to 31. So we're going to bump those right around the 30 range, so we're just going to keep it right at 30. And as you can tell, didn't do a whole lot, but it's just dimming the light and just bringing some of those details out a little bit more. Alright, so next one we're going to go into, we're going to close out of the light, and we're going to go into the color. Alright, color, we're going to mess with 3 different settings. First one's going to be the temperature, second one is going to be the tint, and then the last one is going to be the vibrance. So we're going to go ahead and start with the temperature, and the temperature is going to bump. We're going to bump the temperature down to 5,400. Try and get as close to 5,400 as you can. And if you can't get it right on 5,400, that's all right. Getting so close. Right there, right at 5,400. And then we're going to take that tint. We're going to bump that up to plus 30. Right there, I'm just going to put it right at plus 30, and then we're going to take that vibrance and we're going to bump that vibrance up to that plus 18 range. Just right there, and as you can tell, just making small adjustments at a time. Alright, that's good for the color, so that's everything that's going to be done for the color, so we're going to go ahead and get out of that. And then the third thing that I like to do, down to the effects, we're just going to go down in these edits in order from top to bottom. So same thing here, we're doing 3 different things. We're going to do the texture, clarity, and we're going to dehaze it a little bit. Alright, so you're going to go to that texture, and you're going to slightly bump it up to plus 16, plus 15, somewhere in there. Just going to put it right at plus 16, and then that clarity, we're going to bump that up to that plus 13 range. Right there. And then last one for this, we're going to take this dehaze, and we're going to bump it up to plus 12. As you can see, still making small but great adjustments. This is the before, and this is with everything that we have. So as you can tell, it's not making a whole lot of adjustments yet, but it's already looking a lot better than the raw image was. Alright, next one, we're going right into the detail section. Alright, and from here, you're just going to keep the we're just going to keep the sharpening up at 40, so it's just going to stay right there. We're not going to mess anything with that. And then last one, or second to last one, go into optics, and all we're going to do is enable that lens correction. Alright, so you're going to click enable lens correction, and as you can tell, it just gets all the distortion or anything out and just moves it just a little bit. So right there, and then click out of optics, and then lens blur. We're not going to mess with anything in lens blur. Everything is just going to stay right where it's at in lens blur, which is nothing. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and exit out of that edit section, and we're going to go into our first mask. So this one's going to consist of like around 5 masks, and the first one is going to be the subject mask, which is going to be that car. So we're going to go in here, click subject, and right here, as you can tell, it got the truck in there a little bit, but we're going to keep the truck in there because I want to get that truck edited along with the car. Alright, so from here, starting out, we're going to do 3 different edits in this, which is going to be the highlights, the shadows, and the whites. So we're going to start out with the highlights, which is going to be -20 range. So right at that -20, say 25 to 20 in between there. And doesn't do a whole lot, it just brings out the details a little bit better. Alright, so from here, next one we're going to bump those shadows up, and we're going to bump them up a lot to around that 95 range. We're going to drop it right at 93, so somewhere between 90 and 95 is great. And again, all these edits are going to probably be completely different for your guys' own stuff, because obviously anywhere you go, lighting is not going to be the same. Alright, so a lot of these are going to defer to depending on what your lighting settings are and everything else. Alright. So next one, we're going to get into those whites, and those whites, we're just going to slightly bump them up to that plus 15 range right there. As you can tell, here's the before, and here's the after. So far, we're going to go ahead and get out of there. So this is before and after, and as you can tell, it's looking a whole lot better, and we're like barely halfway through the edit. Alright, so that's enough for that first subject. Alright, next one, we're going to go in here, create new mask. And we're going to do a linear gradient, so click our linear gradient, and we're going to take it from the bottom, drag it up about to the middle. See where the middle of the Mercedes logo is on the front bumper, and drop it right there. And then from here, we're going to mess with only one thing on this one. So this is the first time we're going to be touching the exposure. All right, we're going to take that exposure, and we're going to bump it down to 0.2 or 2. See, right, we're going to drop it down right at the 2.96 range. So I think that looks a lot better. As you can tell, just before this mask, as you can see on the bottom, the grass is very bright, and it's almost like clashing with the car. So you're just going to add that in there, and it's just going to darken it to drag that attention to the car. Alright, the next mask we're going to do is click create new mask, obviously, and we're going to do another linear gradient. So we're going to go in here, click linear gradient, and we're just going to do the exact opposite of what we just did. We're going to take this from the top, and we're going to drag it down right to the top of this 18-wheeler, or truck, sorry, 18-wheeler truck, whatever. And we'll drop it right there, and then same thing, all we're going to mess with is the exposure. We're just going to bump the exposure down to 0.8, just like that. And as you can see with that mask, or without the mask, the trees look very bright in the back, and then this just dims them down just a tad bit, not too much though. Alright, so far here's the before, and here's the after, and we're looking super solid, and we're not even done with the edit yet. Alright, next edit, we're going to go in here, and this is going to be mask number 4. We're going to go create new mask, and this one's going to be a radial gradient, and we're going to take this one, and this one's going to be around this shape right here, and then you can take it and drag it, move it wherever you need, and this one's going to stay right here, just like that, kind of taking up that left corner where the tree is. And we're going to take this and extend it out a little bit more, bring this one down. You'll have to adjust these a little bit to how you want them, and then all we're going to mess with here, just going to bump that exposure up to that 1.02 range, so right around, we get a +1 right there. And then this is, as you can tell, just taking it, and it's taking the part that we just darkened, and it's going to set alone the top left corner of the tree, and it's going to brighten it up just a little bit so it's not so dark up there, because obviously you don't want the top of the picture, bottom of the picture to be a lot darker, and then the car be very bright. You want to kind of keep some of the natural brightness in the background and not take all the attention away from the background, and still drawing that attention to the car though. Alright, so the last but not least mask right here, it's going to be another radial gradient, and this one is going to go right around the car. So you're going to take this one, and didn't do a very good job there, but you're going to take it and you're going to get it around the car, so it's going to center right around the car. Try and shape it to that car. You might have to do a little turning right there. That looks pretty good. And you're going to take it in this top right corner right here next to radial gradient. You're going to hit invert. So this is going to be an inverted car mask right here. And then all we're going to do here is bump the exposure down to minus 0.35, if you can get it there. So in between the 0.35 and 0.30 range. Just put it right at point. See if we can get it right at that 0.35 range. Alright, so I'm just putting it at 0.36 because it's not cooperating and hitting that 0.35. All right, so as you can tell with this mask here, it just takes the background, overall background, and dims it just a little bit. So now all the attention, a lot of the light is on the car, and that car is really the main event of the picture, as well as the truck back there. It's also getting some of the car mask in there. So as you can see in this one right here, the subject mask, as you can tell, the truck is in there a little bit, which is perfectly fine. If you guys want to, you guys can go in here if you really wanted to and subtract, and then you guys would go to brush, and then you guys would just brush over what you want to subtract, but we're not going to do that right now. All right, so we're going to go in here, click delete subject 1, and as you can tell, oh, I just completely messed that up. Go back in here and add subject. There you go, and it's getting that subject in there. All right, but overall, I think it looks very, very good. I'll show you guys the quick before and after. So here's the before. As you can tell, that's without lens correction, everything. Lens correction is a big plays a big role throughout like the distortion and the crop of the picture. So if you guys are able to do lens correction, sometimes it doesn't read what lens you're using. So, but lens correction is great to use. All right, so here's the before and here's the after. I think that is a very, very great edit. I'm happy with the edit. Let me know what you guys think about the edit in the comments. And one last thing I want to finish up here. I'm not going to take credit for this car picture at all. This was all done by Lightroom Optics. Make sure you go check out his YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. And make sure you guys subscribe, follow him on Instagram, and follow him on TikTok. And he's just great to watch. He has a bunch of good tips, especially if you're a beginner car photographer like myself. He is great to watch. All right, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys hit that comment, like, and subscribe button, and make sure you guys stay tuned for the next one.